Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the AfterWords program this afternoon, where AfterWords is where members and followers of the Shrines of the Black Madonna of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church gather. We gather to reflect and use our intellectual and spiritual minds to reflect and discuss today's message as it relates to our experience. And hopefully that will be enlightening and enriching to everyone who participates and those of you who are viewing. So you'll find today's presentation that all of you posted on YouTube, and you'll find all of today's presentations and all others posted on YouTube and Facebook. Join us every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. For the premiere of our weekly message, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this event with all others from the Shrines of the Black Madonna with your friends, family, and like-minded acquaintances. So we welcome everyone, and I am Reverend Akila Shashu, and I have been a member of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church for 38 years. Very great, proud of that. And again, just like to welcome you. So just want to have every one of the panel members to please, starting with Reverend Taliba, introduce yourself and just tell a little bit about you as it relates to the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, so that as we have our discussion, everyone has a little sense of who we are and what we bring to this discussion.
Sure. My name is Reverend Taliba Stevens, Cynthia Stevens. I have been a member of the Shrines of the Black Madonna since 1975. I've done a number of things there. I'm also a retired member of the judiciary, and was delighted to hear about all the AIs, starting with the one that's most important, the African Inspiration and Insight.
Thank you. Reverend Olatunji.
I am Mwalimu Olatunji, minister at Shrine 9 in Atlanta and resident historian. Glad to be here today to just give some insight on such a powerful, outstanding message.
Thank you. Lieutenant K. Fing.
Hello, this is Lieutenant K. Fing from the ATL Southside. I've been a member of the Shrines of the Black Madonna since 1975. And yes, that was an awesome message today about artificial intelligence and African insights. Thank you, Reverend Swad.
Set up for the baby shower, but obviously.
And also, I'm sorry, so if we can also have introduced Sister Amma.
Oh, hi, I'm Amma. I was given my name and visit to Ghana, and I've been a member of the Shrine for about 2 years. I came during the pandemic, and I actually was kind of doing a tourist thing new to Atlanta, and I was down around the Shrine. It wasn't open, but the spirit was there, and I went back home and found out more about it, and then I joined online.
Awesome.
And I like the living your best life. That really attracts. I found out more about it, and I'm still finding out more.
Awesome. Thank you, sister. And lastly, I'd like to welcome and introduce Reverend Swad. Reverend Swad, first of all, you've heard it. Thank you so much. A very powerful message. And brother, yeah, we can clap and celebrate that. So Reverend Swad, would like to open the floor with you sharing a little bit or other insights you have about the powerful message. And from there, we will open it up for the panel's discussion.
So I'll have to be quick because in 5 minutes I have to go officiate service, but I'm working to hold back a big smile because I'm looking at my original group leader, Reverend Akila, and that's just bringing so much joy to my heart right now. Lord have mercy. But just AI. So everywhere I go, I'm hearing about AI, artificial intelligence, the threats and the opportunities. which I really didn't get to preach about the opportunities that it brings. But when I was thinking, I was just really struck by the term artificial intelligence. And just in reflecting on, I'm like, well, damn, that's white people. We just give them way too much credit. Then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, what kind of AI would we really need? And I just started thinking about all the different kinds of AI that we're faced with. And of course, African insight, like Judge Stevens said, is really what we need, and what the Shrines of the Black Madonna is founded upon. We're not Christian chauvinists where we damn everyone to hell if they don't, take on the Christian moniker. We respect Ifa and Candomblé and, all those African faith systems, because they all come from us. And so just thinking about, well, what are the African insights of our church? And it really could have gone on forever, right? It's, communalism, it's the small group, it's all those things that we celebrate and are near and dear. And if we're going to move forward, that's where we have to go. But then the final piece was, it can't be where we are talking to other people about what they need to do. We have to look at ourselves. If we're going to be the leadership of the Pan-African world that we claim to be, we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, whatever issues or problems are out there, what is God calling us to do to rectify those situations?
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much, Reverend Aswad. And so given that, I have a question I'd like to pose, and Lieutenant K. Fing, I'd like to start with posing that question to you, and of course, then we can open it. But given what Reverend Aswad described, and like he said, the way AI is, the thing that's pervading our existence and the way we live right now, and its impact, I wanted to ask you, how then did you feel first about this concept of AI, and then even more so about what Reverend Aswad suggested about our AI, or an African insight, especially as it relates to the impacts of this artificial intelligence and or the way things have been, even beyond what we're talking about technologically?
Sure. Well, in response to that, I love the way Reverend Aswad took us through the journey of AI. What I mean by that is the potential of it. It's a tool. It's one that we've never experienced before. It can be a great negative. It can be negative. It can negatively affect us in a great way, quickly and vastly. If it gets into the wrong hands. But it can also be a great enhancer of us as revolutionaries, as Christians, as African people, in terms of moving us forward. It's just another medium. We as members of the Pan-African world community, we have to figure out how do we access this? How do we learn it? How do we use it going forward as a people to make our lives better here on earth? It's just the whole thought about the African insight, that portion of it, that's what we have to bring to the table for artificial intelligence, African insights. And then I love the way he took us to progressions of ignorance and infantilism, those stages that we've all gone through and we're currently experiencing still today. How do we move through that? How do we move our people? How do we move ourselves personally before we can move our people to the level where we're functioning on a level of African insights, so we can utilize our artificial intelligence for the benefit of the world and not for the destruction of the world. So I learned so much from that, and I kind of was kind of shaking in my boots when he started talking about that chat GPTs. I'm thinking, boy, just like all these other folks, man, that's coming from my job, for what I do. So I better get ahead of this. And we, as being like Reverend Aswad talked about, the leadership in the world, it's not that we individually have to get ahead of that, but we need to get our people ahead of this, because if we don't, we're going to be left behind.
You know what I thought about? This is the opposite of fearing the future. The response that Aswad was dealing with, that we're seeing principally, is a fear response. And it's a fear response because people feel inadequate. We're afraid it's going to take something from us. It's the same fear that led people try to ultimately murder Copernicus when he started to talk about science. We have to look at science and technology as part of the cosmic energy that God put out there. God meant for us to learn and do new things. And every new technology could be used for evil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. When gunpowder, when dynamite was developed, it was intended by its inventor to allow people to clear paths to make roads. And evil people used it to kill people in war. And it's a question of who takes control of it. And what Aswad was charging us to do is take control of this technology, decide for ourselves what we want it to be, and then make it that way.
Man, yes. Did anyone else have any particular thing that they thought that they wanted to share with regards specifically to how you feel, or what your idea of AI, how you felt about this idea of African insight that Reverend Swad posed?
I agree with the sister that we, in her discussion about fear, and that and everything has a good and evil. Water can be used for good or evil. But we need water, so that I hope that we could just skip that fear part and just look at it through God's eyes. How can this be used for good? As far as the information that's been put in it right now, we can expect business as usual on an escalated fashion, because we know who's putting the information in. So how can we change what information is being put in? Do we need a system different, or adding to make sure that when information is put in, they're not coming up with what they are now, that the perfect people are white people? That machine actually came up with that. So, but of course, its source is white people. So we have to use it in a intelligent way. We'll be able to use it for some things. Other things we'll know it's not going to give us the information we need.
Thank you. Reverend Olatunji.
Oh, very powerful and dynamic sermon. And that's what I'm used to from Reverend Swad. But very insightful and on point in reference to what's happening with technology in the world today, the pros and the cons, and then well integrated into a Black Christian nationalist philosophy and theology. So I applaud him. Hey, I was ready to join again, y'all. Couple of points for me is, as he talked about the pros and cons of AI, he mentioned the whole idea of the power of a program, and that's what oftentimes separates the Black Christian nationalist community from other organizations, is that we don't just talk about liberation, but over the time that we have been together, we have built programs and programmatic institutions that deal with solutions and answers. And then the idea of think and learn from experience. That's the analysis and critique that we bring to our philosophy and programmatic work that we do with Black people. We don't just speak off the top of our head. We have been involved in research for a long period of time, and then analysis and critique, and then use that information to build programs. So that's what AI can do for us. I'm using the technology myself. It's been very helpful in setting up programmatic structures for the work that we do. And I've been trying to share with everybody that I run into that hey, this is something that can be used for the programmatic development of our institutions and for the liberation of Black people the world over. Of course, there are some negatives to this. It can be a monster. One thing that you become aware of is that all of the information that's there is not always truthful as it relates to Black people, depending on who's programming. Who's programming?
Right. Right. And so, if I might, Reverend Walamu Olatunji, you're absolutely right. That is, in fact, a key and important element, the idea of program and our program, which leads me to the second question that I'd like for us to entertain. And that is, I want to focus a little more on this African insight, because we understand the impacts of AI, or what its potential is, and or dangers, threats, opportunities, weaknesses, that kind of thing. I want us to share a little more and give consideration to this idea of African insight. And the question is, what experiences of African insight can you share or talk about? For example, if I may, one of the things that had come to me in terms of an African tradition, or something that is powerful for us as African people, is gathering. Gathering is extremely powerful for us. And sometimes we do it in various different ways, family reunions, a party, or church service, dinner. But I'm starting to appreciate whenever we are gathering, and as African people, we understand that there really is a power that is absolutely greater than the sum of the parts, and that generally we come away changed and empowered from those circumstances, those events, whether it's church, the Sunday dinner that, some families hold a Sunday dinner every once a month, where, the whole family comes together and convenes and eats, or, we have the family reunion, even a great party, like we'll gather at Juneteenth. Gathering is powerful, and it is African. So that's just one of the African insights experiences that I consider and have think about, and its power and opportunity. So I wanted to ask that question and ask everyone else to share. What experiences of African insight can you share?
I think the most recent one that the whole world is sharing is the COVID-19 vaccine. Dr. Kizzy collaborated with others, and collaboration is an African tradition, whether it's people coming together to solve a community problem, like there's a big log in the middle of the road. How are we going to move the log? Well, we're all going to take a piece of it. Or something as complex as, I said, this vaccine. It was an amazing phenomenon, and only through cooperation, sharing what each person knew, not hiding my little bit of information so I can be the most important, not you hiding yours so you can make the most money. That collaboration brought forth an amazing scientific discovery that is saving humanity.
Yes, thank you, sister. An African insight. We have
African communalism. We're talking about that in the history class all the way back from the days of African hunter-gatherers, first people on the planet. And the communal nature of African culture is the coming together, starting with the family and then the broader community. But that communalism, that interdependence, that coming together is the seat of human intellect. All the other sciences, technologies, religions come out of that African communalism experience.
Okay, African insight, Reverend
Man,
Walamu Olatunji. Yes, Lieutenant K. Fane.
yeah, I was just wanted to piggyback on what Walamu was talking about and what Reverend Taliba was talking about in terms of this medium, that we now have at our fingertips with this AI. If we bring African communalism, to the table and get in front of it and I think Sister Alma was talking about programming. The program is it's only going to reflect what you feed into it, and then but the dynamics of it is now it's gotten to a point where these machines, this AI, can start thinking for itself. So you give it individualism, materialism, militarism. I am for myself, as opposed to communalism. And we're feeding the multitudes. We're educating the multitudes. We have a government that takes care of the multitudes. We program that into this AI, and that fear that Reverend Taliba talked about, that we should be, we should be scared of this. And we approach it from those African insights that we have historic from the beginning as a communal people. We've always been a communal people. And it's just that, the world right now is ran by an individualistic people. And they have basically tainted everything, everything they touched have become individualistic. It's even more important that we as an African people, communal people, get in front of this thing and be the major programmers of it, so that it will be of benefit for the kingdom of heaven here on earth. It provides for everybody, not just for individuals.
I think we also have to consider, because of the change and the less interaction that you may have with other people, that you have to put in your own lifestyle. Like in the past, I would go down to the grocery store and I knew whose child was going to kindergarten or with the cashier, or who's gone to college. There'd be chit chat, there'd be interaction. You have all this being taken out, and you have to establish in your life that interaction, that human interaction, to replace it. I know a lot of people take pride in not knowing their neighbors. Know your neighbors, have relationships. People think it's okay for families to fall out. If your family fall out, it needs to be fixed. You don't just go on years and years and let it fester. So there's things that we can do to prepare ourselves in terms of careers, what we might want to do, but also personally and spiritually, how is it affecting you and how can you make it a good thing?
Man,
You hit on relationships, and I really want to talk about that for just a second, because when we live in relationship, we live far more securely. When I'm having a purple day, it's not your turn. You'll have a happy day and you're going to give me something else. We've got people moving more and more into isolation. Mm-hmm. And we have the opportunity to show individual leadership in just reaching out to another human being. Reaching out to somebody who we don't even know what's going on with them, just to say hello. You don't have to want something to call somebody. You don't have to know a person to smile at them. You can see that sister walking down the street and just tell her, God, you look beautiful this morning, and give her something. You can tell that young man who spoke and opened the door that he is a king. There's African insight in being in relationship. And that's what we stand for in this church and in this movement, being in relationship with each other.
Thank you, Reverend Taliba. In fact, I think you really open the door to segue to the last part that I wanted to propose to everyone, the last question, and that is considering African insight that recognizes program, lifelong learning. We have an appreciation for what our ancestors, our relationship to our ancestors. We reject a fixed mindset, but an open mindset. And as a result, we reflect the virtues of God. My question is, with African insight, what must we do? And I think Reverend Taliba, you gave a suggestion of one thing we can all do, which is relate to one another and be more conscious in doing so. So I open this up for more African insight on what we can do to, in fact, spread that.
It is our responsibility as leaders among our people is to make sure that we put Black Christian nationalist intelligence into the digital database. And that's what we're doing with our virtual programming that allows us to reach not only Black people on an international level, but people all over the world. So what comes out of the African insight mind within our movement, we have to make sure that we are promoting it online on every instance, from how you train babies to how you build institutions, so that our insight, that intellect, is a part of the overall process. And then finally, of course, as a part of that, we reject the imposter. We reject the imposter philosophy, history, theology. The more we learn about who we are as a people, it becomes more and more clear to us that they are not as smart as sometimes we think they are. And so once we reject that by replacing it with the information that's available to us in this new age, then we're well on our way.
Thank you very much, Walimu Olatunji. African insight.
Humility. We can practice humility. The opposite of the imposter is the arrogant, right? The one who believes that I know everything and therefore I can never be wrong. I had an opportunity. I didn't plan on this opportunity, but I had an opportunity with my 8-year-old granddaughter. I said something. I don't even remember what it was, but I realized that what I said was not only, it came off in a way that was unkind, and I'm trying to teach her how to be kind to people. And so I apologized to her because I can always learn and I can always grow. And I want her to know that. I want her to know that Grammy is as imperfect as everyone, but I think I can still get better no matter how old I am.
Reject the fixed mindset, as Reverend Swad says. Yes, sister. Yes. African insights. Well, I know there is an abundance of it, and I appreciate that it really does even take us contemplating and giving more thought to this whole idea. But again, we're grateful for Reverend Swad message and his sharing, and also thank you all very much for your sharing, your sharing of African insights, and also giving us an idea of what we need to do moving forward. Again, I'd like to thank everyone and let you know that we appreciate your spending time with us today. And we hope that we gave you something to take with you. And we thank you for what you've given to us. Hopefully this discussion has helped us, has been uplifting and certainly empowers us as we go forward in doing just that in terms of doing what's needed for our people. So I'd like to ask everyone to remember to like, subscribe, share, and share this event with others from around the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church and with your friends, your family, like-minded acquaintances. Brothers and sisters, we can use this as a Kasanya Watu, community outreach tool, just like we used to have the pamphlets back in the day, and the cards or the Culture Center Review. We now have our online experience on YouTube. We have the worship experience online, and we have AfterWords. So if you for whatever reason cannot attend one of our live services, that powerful gathering in Detroit, Atlanta, and Houston, if you can't make that, by all means, bring some folks online so that they can begin to have this experience, and we can begin to share our African insights and empower our people for liberation. Again, thank you, everyone. And this will conclude this program of AfterWords.
Peace, everybody.
Peace out.